What's going on, YouTube? So it's CJ, your home improvement homeboy, and I'm doing a little bit of a different type of video. I mean, it's still the same ASMR style content, letting you guys actually watch the process. But this time I'm gonna talk through it a little bit and actually tell you what's going on. So for this design that you saw on the title graphic, I actually pre-built the boxes. So I started with getting the sheet of 4x8 plywood and cutting it down to 2-inch strips. And as you can see, I just assembled it to fit the design that the client already had in mind. And I'll show you guys that a little later when I actually get to the client's house. But yeah, as you can see, I went ahead and did the rough put together of all the boxes. The edges are still a little ragged, so we're gonna start by adding some wood filler in these cracks, so that when we sand it, we'll sand down the filled area as well as the rough edges, so we can kind of do that in one fell swoop. So yeah, I fast forwarded because I don't want this video to be stupid long, and yeah, it's a little bit of a process. And yeah, I like to rub it in the grooves with my hands, even though, you know, they say to use gloves and stuff, but I feel like you can feel it better and you can tell where you're missing spots because it's easier to feel that texture with your bare skin. All right, and of course we're gonna sand it down. The sandpaper I'm using here is finishing sandpaper, so it's 220 grit. As you know, the higher the count of sandpaper, the smoother finished product you'll have. So you see, as I'm going over the areas where I put the wood filler, I'm going over all the rough edges, as well as the edges of the edges that will be actually seen and felt, because we don't want those to be splintery or rough. And with cutting down the plywood, it does produce some rough, jagged edges. So it does take a little bit of work to get it right. And I know you can buy MDF, which it's actually a little more expensive route to take, and you don't really have to do this with the MDF. But I prefer real wood because it's more sturdy, it lasts longer in my opinion, and it just creates an overall more elegant look. Plus you also have the option to stain real wood, and that's something you can't really do with MDF. And so for anybody who was wondering where I got the measurements for the wood from, or how I was able to pre-cut this, so this is the look that the client is actually going for, if you look in the top left. And I had everything mocked up to scale, but of course on the wall it's not going to all be in one straight row. So I was kind of freestyling on this part, kind of arranging the design around what she already had on the wall, and just to, you know, give it that more full effect, make it all tie in well with her decorations and shelving. Later on, she actually told me she wanted to replace the shelving and put the design there as well. So you'll see later on where I took those shelves down. And yeah, it all actually came together really quickly. Pre-assembling makes the installation process go much faster. And of course you need to use a level, because there's no possible way to set this up correctly without using a level. Yeah, I know I sped this up so you guys can, just for the sake of it not being, you know, very long, but actually the installation of this in real time only took me about 30 minutes, if that. And then the rest of the time was spent on the finishing. after I'd already gotten all of the rectangles and squares on the wall, my next step was to use some, and I pre-cut this as well. I cut down strips of 1/2 inch plywood, and I used that to go in between, because if you noticed on the original inspiration that she sent me with the gray design, there had lines connecting the boxes. So I decided to do the same just to keep with the continuity of it. The client wanted to keep with that same idea as well. So we did spice it up a little bit, like I said, by using 2 different thicknesses of plywood. So the actual design is done with 3/4 thickness of plywood, and the lines that connect it are done with 1/2 inch. So on top of it already being 3D, it kind of gives it that extra premium type of feel to it. So yeah, as you can see, it's already starting to come together after we put all the pieces on the wall. Honestly, man, even if we left it just like that, it would have still popped. Like, it still looks good. But and the client was actually working, this was her office, and she was actually working behind me, and she turned around and she saw it and she was like, yeah, I kind of like the way this is going. Because the original idea was to paint it all the same color as the wall and just, you know, have it be a little more subtle. But as she saw the way the 2 different colors stood out against the orange, she decided that she wanted to go with a 2-tone design, which I was cool with because we had already had the paint. So as you saw a few seconds ago, I went ahead and caulked it. I fast forwarded through that. Caulking is pretty standard. You're just sealing the gaps in between the wood and the wall. And now we'll go ahead and add since it's going to be a 2-tone design, we want the edges to be the same color as the walls. So went ahead and painted all of the edges, and yeah, that was a little tedious as well. Just making sure you get every nook and cranny. So I did fast forward through a lot of that as well. It's not a long process. Like I said, it just feels long watching it, but when you're doing it, it literally took me, I want to say 2-3 hours to do the full design, and that's with everything: assembly, caulking, painting the edges, and painting the face of it twice. So it's really it's a high impact design, but like I said, it feels tedious when you're doing it, but it goes really fast, honestly. So as you can see, like I said, she wanted to go with a different tone for the face of it. So more of a gold, tannish gold. And as you can see, it really started to make the design pop, really started to clean it up. And when you're painting those edges, you don't have to be neat, because when you go over it with the face, as you can see, it covers it right up. So you don't have to really waste time trying to be precise on the edges. And what I used to paint this was just a touch-up roller. I'll put the links for all of the tools and everything that I used in this video below, as well as links to the wood that you can buy to do this exact same design wherever you are. So guys, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below how you like this video. Thank you for watching.